Hi all, AD here from Hans & Johns. As always, thank you so much for clicking on the video. I'm in deepest, darkest Norfolk and I found a church with another round tower. You can see it just behind me there. It's called St. Michael's and I'm in a place called Geldeston. I'm not sure if I've said that correctly. Apologies if I have. I'm not familiar with the area. So let's go and explore. Looks quite old. I'm not sure it's ancient, but we'll find out. We'll go in and see what we can find out inside. So let's have a look. One of the first things you notice straight away is this round tower. Now Norfolk is famous for round tower churches, and that's mainly because flint was easier to build with than large cut blocks of stone. Now this tower is thought to date back to about the 12th century, making it probably the oldest part of the church. And even from the outside you can already see how the building slowly developed over hundreds of years rather than being built all at once. And now as we come to the south porch, apparently here there are still traces of medieval carvings linked to the Passion of the Christ. I had no idea what I was looking for, guys, so I'm sorry about that. I couldn't find what they were talking about. And as we head in, just to the right hand side of the door is a medieval holy water stoup. It's a small detail, but centuries ago, entering the church, people would have dipped their fingers in holy water before going inside. And as we head in, one of the first things that stands out is this beautiful font. It's a medieval octagonal font with carved lines around the stems, and it actually looks a little bit like the lines are almost smiling. Really nice. You can really get a sense of the age of this building from this end of the church. The tower has been standing here for something like 800 or 900 years, overlooking the village and the valley below. It looks like there's just one single bell in the tower, and here on the floor, I'm not sure what these grates were for. Maybe this was a heating system. Again, if you do know, please do let me know in the comments. Then as we walk up through the nave, more medieval details start to appear. Over here on the right hand side, near the pulpit, you can still see evidence connected to the old rood screen. The screen itself disappeared long ago, like in many English churches after the Reformation, but traces survive, including the staircase that once led up to it. It's a reminder that medieval churches originally looked very different inside, much more colourful and divided than they do today. And as we continue into the chancel, there's something very calm and understated about the interior here. Like a lot of churches, a lot of changes happened during the Victorian period. And in the 1860s, part of this church were restored and rebuilt by architect Thomas Penrice. There's a beautiful stained glass windows. Unfortunately, Victorian restorations sometimes erased older features, and many of them have been lost, I feel, in this church. But there are still some beautiful additions, especially some carvings in the chancel representing themes of sin, hope and renewal, and there was these beautifully carved chairs on the altar, although I couldn't find out any information about them. And that stained glass window was in fact 20th century, and it was installed in 1957. I'm just going to head into the vestry. There's not much going on here. Although on the wall over here there's a list of, I think, bishops and rectors. If you're really interested, please do pause and read it. The bishops of East Anglia. As I leave the vestry and go back into the chancel, just as I go into the doorway, there's a very interesting memorial opposite. So if you're interested, please do pause it here. Now that memorial commemorates Robert Pack, and he died in 1918 during the First World War while flying a Sopwith camel from Great Yarmouth. Now what makes this unusual is that he was born actually in the Falkland Islands, and his parents commissioned 2 matching memorial plaques. So there's one here in Geldeston in the church, and the other is actually in Port Stanley Cathedral, thousands of miles away. And that's often what I find I discover in these small little rural English churches. From the outside they can seem isolated and local, but when you're inside you find stories connected to world events far beyond the village itself. I'm now going to head back outside, but whilst in the porch on the right hand side here I found some graffiti, AE dated 1781. I don't know if he was a visitor or maybe a workman, who knows. And I also found this rather intriguing piece of wood. Is it a tool? What use does it have? I've never seen anything like this before. I thought I'd get some up close pictures of it, so I'm hoping that somebody on here knows what it is. Please do let me know in the comments. I'm absolutely fascinated as to what it is. I'm sure it has some practical use. It'll probably seem quite obvious. There's a lovely picture here up on the wall of this church, Geldeston, but I couldn't read the handwriting, so I'm not sure what the other ones are. No doubt they're local, maybe they're all within the same parish. As I head back out again into the churchyard, you really notice just how peaceful the setting is here. The church sits slightly above the valley, surrounded by trees and open countryside, and apart from the occasional bird song or wind going through the grass, it is in fact incredibly quiet. And walking around churchyards like this always feels a little reflective. Some of the gravestones here are still easy to read, while others have been slowly worn away by centuries of weather, names fading into the stone, dates becoming harder to make out, and the edges softened by rain and frost. And most of the people buried here, I'm sure they just lived very ordinary lives like we do today, but no doubt they would have been connected to the local village itself. They were probably farming families, labourers and local tradespeople, generations who may never have travelled very far beyond this part of Norfolk, but together they form the history of the village just as much as the church building does. Walking around this beautiful graveyard with the daffodils in full bloom, it's really easy to see how nature slowly becomes part of the graveyard over time. And there's this beautiful war memorial. There's moss spreading across the stones, grass growing around the older graves, and trees casting shadows across the paths. And churchyards like this often become quite little wildlife havens, simply because the land has remained undisturbed for so long. And as you walk around, there's also something very timeless about this place. I found a soldier's grave here, a Commonwealth War grave. Flight Lieutenant Clark, who was a pilot with the Royal Air Force, and he lost his life on the 30th of October 1911, aged just 28 years old. Rest in peace and thank you for your service. The church sits here overlooking the valley exactly as it has done for hundreds of years, while generations of villagers have come and gone through its doors, and there's many generations of those same families now buried in this really peaceful churchyard. And that's probably what makes places like St Michael's so appealing. It's not because it's the grandest church in Norfolk or filled with famous treasures, but it just feels completely connected to its landscape and the community overlooking the valley. I'm going to wrap the video up here. Thank you so much for watching. It wasn't the longest video ever, but there wasn't an awful lot going on there to show you. But nevertheless, it was still very interesting. If you did enjoy it, if you could please like, subscribe and hit the hype button down below. It's absolutely free, doesn't cost you a penny, but it really helps the channel out. But if you want to help the channel a little bit more, you can hit the Buy Me a Coffee link down below, and that really helps support me, helps me with my donations to these buildings, and also helps me travel a little bit further afield, like here to Norfolk, so I can visit some more interesting churches for you. So I shall see you for the next one. Bye for now.